Home audio recording is older than you might think. The idea of it was already there way back in 1878, when Thomas Edison's speaking phonograph was still little more than a crude proof of concept. An article about the phonograph and its future, published under Edison's byline, had stated, "For the purpose of preserving the sayings, the voices, and the last words of the dying member of the family, as of great men, the phonograph will unquestionably outrank the photograph." So the prediction was that people of the future would keep albums of their loved ones' voices alongside the usual photograph albums containing pictures of their faces. It took another 10 years for Edison's invention to evolve into a reasonably practical technology in the form of the wax cylinder phonograph unveiled in 1888. Standard histories of recorded sound like to focus on how it came to be used by people at home who bought and played pre-recorded entertainment records, the stuff of the commercial recording industry. And its use for ethnographic field recording gets a lot of attention too. That is, cases where researchers used the phonograph to capture sounds they considered culturally or scientifically significant. But it was also advertised as a technology people could use to make their own records of themselves and their family and friends. In 1900, the promotional book, The Phonograph and How to Use It, devoted whole chapters to the secret of making phonograph records, and a fictional account of a phonograph party, where guests spent a leisurely evening talking, singing, and playing music into the machine, and listening back to the results afterwards. Phonograph dealers were encouraged to hold local competitions, offering prizes to whichever of their customers could record the best homemade vocal, instrumental, and spoken word cylinders. So that's what the industry promoted. But what did people actually record back at a time when participating in the time-shifting of performances of speech and music was still a new, exhilarating, unsettling prospect? Let's turn to the holdings of the University of California, Santa Barbara to find out. Often people turn to the same recitations and songs they might have performed for family and friends if the phonograph hadn't been there. Sometimes they're songs a 21st century audience is still likely to recognize.
I've been working on the railroad all the livelong day. I've been working on the railroad just to pass the time away. My baby, when you hear the bells go ting-ling-ting, hold your arm and bid me your mistake, and when the birds pass through, in the chorus all join in, there'll be a hot night, the old town night.
Others might now be a little more obscure.
Oh, Mrs. McSally had fine petty twins, they're two fat little devils they were. A squalling and bawling from morning till night, too deep and new I do declare. My soul was a caution the way they would scream like the breast of a fisherman's horn. McSally, not one word said our advice laughed, and some two little devils were born. For the beer and the whiskey, the whole blessed night, sure they couldn't stand up on their pins. Such an elegant time at the Christmas we had, the McSally's most beautiful night.
Sometimes people turned instead to other kinds of older family record for inspiration, such as the written lists of birth, marriage, and death dates often kept in family Bibles and ledgers. Here's an excerpt from a home recording made on November 27, 1898. This took a good deal of decipherment, and I'm still not absolutely sure whether the speaker, Rachel Cornelia Wambaugh, is giving her birth year as 1815 or 1816. But she was wrong either way. By tracking down the speaker's baptismal record, I was able to date her birth to the year 1814, which, to the best of my knowledge, makes her the earliest born woman whose recorded voice we can hear today, thanks to the chance survival of a home recording. There's really no telling what might turn up on one of these cylinders. In 1903, the Edison Phonograph Monthly had this to say about the so-called phonograph crank. The braying of a jackass in the barn affords him infinite delight, because there is an opportunity to reproduce. The sound of the chanticleer that wakes all the people in the neighborhood at 4 a.m., causing them to let go their hold on sleep and profanity, is, to the owner of the phonograph, a veritable charm, another opportunity to reproduce. Here's an actual home recording of barnyard sounds from around 1895, quite likely the world's oldest authentic record of animal vocalizations. I imagine you're all familiar with the famous His Master's Voice trademark, but here's something that sounds suspiciously like someone's real experiment in using a phonograph to call a dog and get it to obey its master's voice.
Rover, you want to go to the store? Come on over now. That's a nice boy. Come, Rover. Rover, come on over. How are you? Wait here.
Other home recording enthusiasts pushed the technology to its limits in other ways. One phonograph owner named Frank Lawrence Embry liked to buy commercially manufactured music records and alter them in clever ways. Sometimes he'd drop his recorder onto an existing commercial record to record himself on top of it, as in this case, where he decided a band record could use a little added whistling. Sometimes he'd squeeze a little speech in at the end of a commercial cylinder to show one of his visitors how home recording worked, although he didn't have much space, so the cylinder often ran out before he finished.
Hello, Mr. Graphophone. How are you this morning? Are you feeling pretty well? I wonder if you will talk back to these people and tell them the things that I'm telling you. Why, you can talk to the graphophone in any tone of voice and get the record all right, and you can hear.
The examples I've played so far are held by UCSB, but this next one comes from my own personal collection, a spoken letter addressed by Albinus Harris Mendenhall of Pomeroy, Washington, to his friend Guy Willebrand in nearby Clarkston, recorded on a black wax cylinder blank of a type introduced in 1912.
Guy Willebrand of Clarkston. Friend Guy, I am making you a record. But after I get it made and all done, I don't like very well to send it for fear it won't be all right and right up to snuff. However, if you'll promise not to go around the country and try to give shows and exhibitions with it, and in that way go broke and lose all your money, I'll send it anyway. And as you have no machine of your own, you can take this over to Mr. Laufer's, and he will kind of play it on his phonograph until such time as you get one yourself.
He tells Guy, if you have no machine of your own, you can take this over to Mr. Loeffler's, but how's Guy supposed to get the instructions if he can't play the record? And he says, if you will promise not to go around the country and so on, but how's he supposed to get this promise in advance as a condition for sending the recording if the request for it is part of the recording? These logical lapses could represent unintentional slips by a speaker who's struggling to wrap his head around the novel realities of the phonograph, but they could also represent him playing humorously with the weirdness of the situation. Either way, this is one of my favorites. At first, the disc gramophone, ancestor of today's LP turntables, couldn't be used by folks at home to make their own records as the cylinder phonograph could. But as discs came increasingly to dominate the recorded sound market, the quest to introduce a recordable disc format was on. In 1930, RCA Victor introduced pre-grooved vinyl discs designed to be recorded with an electrical microphone. Up until this point, home recording had been acoustic, powered by the sheer force of sound waves themselves. The introduction of electric recording marked a big leap forward in sound quality and in terms of the kinds of event people could realistically record. Those pre-groove discs were followed in rapid succession by aluminum discs, lacquer-coated discs, and solid plastic discs, all of which weren't pre-grooved but had a fresh groove cut or embossed into them during recording. Now people really could keep family record albums alongside their family photograph albums. But along with the new recording technologies, there were also new models people could draw on when deciding what to record, such as radio. Not only was the new generation of machines designed to let people record material off the air, but people were also inspired to imitate radio, as in this chilling excerpt from a home-recorded War of the Worlds-like drama, in which a fictional broadcaster finds himself attacked by giant insects.
I can't understand it. I'm hearing noises. Could they? What is it?
Come with me to the window.
Get the dynamite. Get the dynamite. That carbon, that won't do any good. I can hear them coming. They're tearing in the doors. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the last time I can talk to you.
Less sensationally, we find people in this period turning increasingly to radio-like interview formats, which don't turn up at all in the cylinder era.
What is your name?
Donald Patrick.
And how old are you, Donnie?
10.
When was you 10?
January 2nd.
Was this year?
Yes.
1952?
Yes.
Did your mother and dad give you a party?
Yes.
Did you have a good time?
Yeah, very good time.
Who was all here at your party, do you recall?
That said, things didn't always go smoothly and could get a little tense.
All right, I thought it was a very sensitive mic. You can hear it all around.
The baby, no, her voice is very weak.
Well, she's talking very low to the doll.
All right, then. Put the microphone over there or something.
Come on, Ronnie, talk to me. Tell me what you did with the baby. Oh, tell me what you did about the birthday party. Did you have a party for the baby?
I told you before.
Well, tell it to me again. So if you tell it to me this time, you'll hear it on the record. So tell me.
But when it came to striking a balance between having a good time and making a, quote, good, unquote, record, some people leaned more in the opposite direction. The final example I want to share with you is labeled The Wrecked Record. And in one sense, I suppose it is. But somehow, I can't help but feel they were doing something right.
You meet me when the clock struck 23.
This'll ruin it.
Oh, my wing hat from a little brown house. 3 gold ears and big old feet at 20 cents a pound. Oh, she's my pretty face, come some keep Sarah Jane. She's my darling, my Denise. She's so fat, she's crazy. She's had
Margaret's just about to blow a tire.
Well, we lost that one up but good, I guess, but we're having a lot of fun anyhow. Give you a little idea of what's going on around here, and we're perfectly sober, too. Well, it's just about the end of this one, and we'll cut this one off and put on another and see what comes out of it. So long.